Hello and welcome to this chess video. I am FIDE Master Ingvar Jóhannesson from Iceland, and I'm going to review a game from the 5th round of the Tata Steel Chess Tournament 2019, the Masters section, which we have been sticking to so far, although I would like to look at some games from the Challengers group. I think it's a bit too early to think about the standings too much. At the moment, Nepomniachtchi is on +2. So he has won 2 more games than he has drawn. But Magnus has an even score. But again, it's 13 rounds. We're only on round 5, so I'm not gonna, in the later rounds, I will pull up the standings and see what's going on. But for now, we're going to look at this game by Van Foreest with the white pieces and Magnus with the black pieces. And yeah, we have e4. And Magnus goes for c5. Just like in the World Championship match, c5 was his exclusive weapon, and he went for the Sveshnikov, and that's indeed where Jorden van Foreest, the local player, decided to test Magnus. So open Sicilian, knight f6, knight c3, and e5. So we have the Sveshnikov variation, also known as the Lasker or the Pelican. But to most it's known as the Sveshnikov variation, after Evgeny Sveshnikov, who was one of the pioneers of this opening. Now the main line is to play bishop g5, which well, unfortunately wasn't tested in the World Championship match, but Magnus did play a game at the World Rapid and Blitz Championships where bishop g5 was played against him. But Van Foreest played knight d5, which Caruana did as well in 3 classical games and at least one of the Rapid games. Only one of the Rapid games. Okay, knight d5. Black has to take because, well, we have 2 knights eyeing the c7 square, and you have to get rid of one of them. So knight takes d5. And in the World Championship match, Magnus did play. Oops, sorry about that. Magnus did play knight b8 on 2 occasions, which is, yeah, a common move here, the most common move. But he also did play knight e7 in 2 games, one classical game and in the Rapid tiebreaks. This is what he chose today against Van Foreest, and they did follow those games with c4, knight g6, queen a4, bishop d7, and queen to b4. Now, let's see if I get this. If I got this right, yeah. So first, when this position came in the World Championship match, Magnus went with bishop to f5. This was the 12th game, I believe. Then we have had h4, h5, queen a4, and Magnus offered a repetition, which is slightly relevant, as we'll see, bishop d7. And here Caruana played queen b4 and Magnus went back to f5. So Caruana could have forced a draw by playing queen a4 and bishop back to d7. So bishop f5 kind of allows a draw, which is important because here in the game against Van Foreest, he doesn't go for a bishop f5, he goes queen to b8, which avoids this repetition. I will post a card with the games from the World Championship match. I did cover them all, so if you're interested in seeing more about this variation, some games from this variation, I do have them here on my channel. So after queen b8, of course, this was to protect the d6 pawn, which was under attack. Bishop f5 also unleashed the queen to defend the pawn, so the pawn had to be defended. Now we have h4 and h5. Otherwise, white would have pushed this knight away. Bishop e3, a6, knight c3. Here we are actually following the Rapid game between Caruana and Magnus Carlsen from the tiebreaks. So it's clear that Van Foreest had looked at these lines and was ready. But Carlsen deviated here. Against Caruana, he played a5. And yeah, that was one of his key wins in the Rapid games. After queen b3 he played a4, And you can have a look at that game in the card above. But perhaps sensing some preparation, Magnus decided to deviate here, and he played the move f7 to f5. This position has been reached before, and this is actually the first time we have a new move in the game. The previous game that reached this position saw g2, g3 by white, but Van Foreest, he castled queenside. Carlsen played bishop e7. It looks tempting to push the bishop, but on the other hand, you are taking away square from yourself in a way. I haven't looked at this, but I guess we'll put the bishop here, and we have given up this square, and this guy's coming, and you're also taking away squares from your knight, which now doesn't have a lot of prospects. So I think all in all, this would not be a very good idea for black just yet, at least. It's more common to push the e-pawn in these structures. So okay, first Magnus plays bishop to e7. Now we have g3 by Van Foreest and castled by Carlsen. It looks a bit risky to castle because, well, you move this pawn, which could be easily attacked, and you're somewhat exposed, but white doesn't really have a lot of pieces that can attack, and you would kind of need your queen over here to bother black, but it's on b4, takes a lot of time to get back. So the pawn on h5 isn't a huge issue, but it is an issue, and white plays bishop e2. Now this pawn can't be defended, but I'm sure that, of course, Carlsen was fully aware of that, and he played e4, intending to sacrifice the pawn. Now, for some reason, Van Foreest didn't take the pawn on h5. If he does, well, Carlsen would move the knight to e5. It's attacked and goes to a better square, threatening knight d3, so the bishop would probably pull back. And I mean, black has some attacking chances for sure. I mean, he can push either pawn, b5 or a5. He can put the rook on c8, and okay, this bishop comes to a nice diagonal, and it could be scary. And white's attack will be slower. That's for sure. So I'm guessing this was a bit of a, I don't know what to call it, like Magnus effect. It seems like he was too scared to take the pawn, and he went for bishop to d4. Carlsen played bishop f6, eliminating this strong bishop. Very useful because black would really like to post a knight here or here, and the black squares in white camp have become a bit of a problem. Nonetheless, white can still take on h5, but for the second time it didn't do it. The line would probably be very similar. It takes on h5 and bishop back to e2, and again black would try to attack on the queen side, but this was probably the principled way to play. Just take the pawn and make black prove the conversation. Instead he played queen b6. I guess the idea here is to, well, block the black pieces. Black can't play b5 now, so there's at least he's stalling the attack for now. But now comes knight to e5, and now you're simply too late to take the pawn because your pawn on c4 will be undefended. King b1 was played, and bishop e8. Now the bishop is covering the pawn, which means that the knight is free to move. And now we can even switch over to c5 if we want, and black no longer has to sack a pawn. Rook d2, knight d7, attacking the queen, queen d4, and queen c7. So the queen finally comes off the back rank, and the world champion is starting to improve his pieces slowly but surely. Knight d1 by Van Foreest. He wants to put it on e3, knight e5, and then it gets to e3. Seems like a useful square, over protecting c4, and in some cases, well, blockading the e pawn, and in some cases attacking the f pawn. But here Carlsen goes forward with f4. It looked like for most of the game that black would attack on the queen side, but now the strike comes on the king side. And this is made available by the fact that the bishop on e8 is quite strong, because we can't take the pawn here. We would skewer the queen and it's lost. So f4 is with immunity, can't take on e4, so white takes on f4. But here things are starting to fall apart. Rook g1, black would like to take here, but then white can take this, so first bishop g6 covering the e-pawn. The king decides to get out of the diagonal. Rook a to f8, and yeah, looks like a really tough position now for white. Black is just getting ready to take on f2 and penetrate. Also, we have a weakness here, and he plays c5. I'm not sure if this is some desperation, but black just takes on f2, queen c3, and here Carlsen just takes on c5. And now, okay, there is some counterplay, but turns out it's not anything to worry about for black. You're pushing the pawn, but Carlsen calmly plays king h7. This covers the bishop, frees the knight to move, and I guess Carlsen's idea was revealed here as he played not rook d8 stopping the pawn, but knight to f3. Of course, this bishop is pinned. We will take the rook on d2. And if you make a queen, well, it will simply be a trade, and a bad trade for white, because this pawn is eliminated. Now I took your pawn. The queen is a pawn. You just lost a pawn, and now I regain the rook here. And it's game over. I might even take on e2. It might even be better. In both cases, yeah, completely winning. So actually, after knight to f3, Van Foreest resigned. So finally, Magnus won a game. 21 games he had played, which ended in a draw. 21 drawn classical games in a row. But now, I guess he's ready to start a new streak, because he has played, I believe it was 33 games without a loss. And if you remember, 2018, Ding Liren had a very impressive streak where he played 100 games at a very high level, well, the highest level, without losing. 100 games. So can Magnus reach that goal? If anybody can, he can. But a long way to go. But a good start, and yeah, he released the demon of the jokes, drawness, Carlsen, and all the draws. But okay, but he has the record now, 21 draws in a row, which will stick around for a while in some Twitter jabs, I guess. But yeah, that's it for this one. Hit subscribe if you haven't, if this is your first time here. Nice to see you, and if you want to watch another video, probably it will be a game from this tournament. It's going to be up there. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Timmy, say bye. Timmy. Timmy. Say bye.